And good afternoon. Welcome to We Believe Digital Studios News Break Show, Wednesdays and Fridays from 12 to 12:30. We're glad to have you joining us today. Got about 16 different topic areas to share with you this afternoon. 88 degrees in downtown Jackson. Look like it's heading for 96 at about 5 p.m. I think yesterday they were really close on that forecast, and I know that a lot of people watching that means a lot. So certainly say a prayer for those people who are not able to be inside today, that they get some type of shade and breaks and water and so forth to make working outside as healthy for them as possible under these crazy conditions. I guess we can just thank God we're not in Phoenix, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Yesterday in Jackson, we'll start in close and move out. Yesterday in Jackson, Khalid Woods was named the new Director of Public Works. The city engineer, Robert Lee, had been the interim Director of Public Works for just 2 months, and they announced the announcement was made yesterday by the Jackson Chief Administrative Officer, Lewis Wright, at the Jackson City Council's morning meeting yesterday. And I think Mr. Woods was a deputy public works director at a city in Florida just prior to coming here. So they did a nationwide search to find him, and now Mr. Lee returned to his other post as the city engineer. Also, some sad news over at the Metro Center Mall yesterday. The city has been leasing lots of office space over there. City departments of Human Resources, Parks and Rec, Human and Cultural Services. There's been some police over there. And they've had their offices at the Metro Center Mall for many years, but at yesterday's City Council meeting, they voted in favor of terminating the lease with Metro Retro LLC, who owns the building, in a 3-1 vote. To terminate that lease. They said nothing about where they're going to go, where they're going to move to, when they're going to be gone. They complain about the conditions, lack of air conditioning, other things. Ward 3 Councilman Brian Grizel, Ward 5 Councilman Vernon Hartley, and Ward 6 Councilwoman Virgie Lindsay voted in favor, while Ward 1 Councilman Ashby Foote voted against. Ward 2 Councilwoman Angelique Lee and Ward 6 Councilman Aaron Banks abstained from the vote, saying that they thought it would be better to have more discussion on the matter before it was brought to a vote. And Ward 3 Councilman Kenneth Stokes was not in attendance. Also yesterday, Hinds County Board of Supervisors approved a salary increase for Hinds County Sheriff's Department detention facility sergeants, going from $35,300 to $40,000 a year, and their lieutenants in the detention facilities from $38,200 to $42,500. Raises go into effect August 1st. Certainly this must be linked to the escapes that they've had over there, concerns about that, and the Board of Supervisors indicated that they could provide those raises without changing their budget at all. So apparently there's some vacancies and so forth. So good news for those people, and hopefully that can translate into no escapes over there at the detention center. At the detention centers, I should say. As we broaden out a little bit to the state of Mississippi as a whole, still no Republican-led hearings on the TANF scandal. Just really hard to imagine. Under a Republican-led administration, nearly $100 million intended for the poorest in Mississippi funneled away to pet projects under a Republican administration. All kinds of, spending that was not at all related to why the federal government sends us that money every single year. They send it as a safety net for the very poorest among us. And yet it was misused, misspent, stolen, however you want to say it. But no Republicans leading the charge to have hearings on that topic. We just want you to know that. Every single time we come on the air, we want you to know that. Reading in Mississippi Today this morning, under the title, "Where the Sheriff is King, These Women Say He Coerced Them into Sex." Mississippi Today reports Clay County Sheriff Eddie Scott repeatedly been accused of harassing women, forcing them to have sex, retaliating against critics. A really, really lengthy story. The New York Times was in on this story. The Mississippi Center for Investigative Reporting, which is part now of Mississippi Today, wrote the story. And maybe you can go there and take a look at it. Long story. This guy even went so far as to send letters to women that he had incarcerated, beginning the letter saying, "Hey, sexy." So that's the sheriff, Clay County Sheriff Eddie Scott. Of course, he denies everything, say it was a setup. So we'll see. I don't know what more to say about that. How you can, the abuse of power, the misuse of power, taxpayer funds, and that kind of behavior. So there's litigation in court now, but the allegations go back to about 2012. So over 10 years, lots of things going on down there. Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch. She wants the state to be able to investigate and compel information on out-of-state abortions. She authored this letter, has been co-signed by 18 other Republican attorneys general in response to a White House-backed federal rules change that would further shield reproductive health medical records. So while the Biden administration is trying to keep people's health information private, these attorney generals they don't like that idea. They want to get hold of that information, and God only knows what they do with the information when they get hold of it. So always stuff like this going on in Mississippi. Like we don't have other stuff we could be focusing on, like holding hearings on the TANF scandal, or finding ways to help the poor, finding ways to promote black business in a state that's 40% black, eliminate the homelessness problem, as many good-sized cities in the United States have done, when they set their mind to it. But that's the problem. We don't have our mind set to those sorts of things. We want to get the health records from women that have gone out of state for abortions. Mississippi Governor, now this comes from the Clarion Ledger, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves' long-voiced opposition to Joe Biden's now defeated plan to forgive $10,000 in student loan debts for most federal borrowers. Meanwhile, businesses with close ties to the first-term Republican have had more than $500,000 in federal loans forgiven in recent years. So Governor Reeves and a company he owns, and his father's company, and a company that his wife works in, have had more than $500,000 in federal loans forgiven. So it's okay to forgive them, but he didn't want these, $10,000 student loans forgiven. And lastly, on the state level, a 16-year-old employee yesterday Friday died at a chicken processing plant in Hattiesburg. This is the Mar-Jac Poultry in Hattiesburg. Deputy Coroner Lisa Clem at the Forest County Coroner's Office told CNN the autopsy's been completed, but the results have not been released. The company, Mar-Jac Poultry, said the teen died from injuries suffered in what it described as an accident, quote unquote, in an emailed statement to CNN. And it was another piece about him being involved as part of a sanitation crew. So I don't know what the accident could have been, but 16 years old is just so sad. Obviously, more to come on that, and we'll get it to you as soon as we can learn it. So that's it on the Mississippi front, and we'll just dip out now for a couple of commercials, and then we'll be right back to continue on with the national news and global news.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back to We Believe Digital Studios for our twice-a-week news break show from noon to 12:30 on Wednesdays and Fridays. We've covered if you're just joining us, we covered the Jackson and Hinds County stories of interest and some stories under the state of Mississippi. On a national level, CMT has pulled a music video of a very popular artist by the name of Jason Aldean. The song "Try That in a Small Town," and it's being alleged that this is a anti-Black Lives Matter, pro-gun, and actually it was questioned if lynching. If is an endorsement of lynching or something along those lines, some people are alleging. And I got the first verse and the chorus. I'll share it with you. Maybe you can decide. It says, "Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool? Well, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough." And the chorus goes, "Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Round here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out I don't recommend, I recommend you don't try that in a small town. So he denies it's an anti-lynching song. He's not the writer of the song. He's performing it. Apparently, he just started a tour a few days ago or over the weekend or something. He had to stop abruptly, kind of heat exhaustion type of thing. So, but it really caught my attention that Country Music Television pulled the music video. I don't think they do something like that lightly. So who knows? There's a friend-finding app. I think it's relatively new, friend-finding app. The article I read said it's a new app designed for teenagers called Wizz, W-I-Z-Z. And there's all kinds of reports that, under the auspices of making friends, especially with young people back and forth with one another, it's led to what's called sextortion among teens. So really sad. I mean, any kind of vehicle to help young people communicate more, especially after COVID and everything, that is a real blessing, but to see it misused, that's really sad. Wednesday's Powerball. Now, that's the Powerball tonight. I think you can buy tickets up till 6 p.m., but you got to listen to this whole report now before you run out and buy tickets. Wednesday's Powerball jackpot is an estimated $1 billion. Something that has only happened twice before in the history of the Powerball, which began in 1992. So that's the good news. Up to $1 billion, it's only happened twice before. The rest of the story is the odds of winning the jackpot went from 1 in 175 million to 1 in 292 million, which is where it stands today. So you have a 1 in 292 million chance of winning if you buy a ticket. Not for me. Phoenix, Arizona. 110 degree plus temperatures for 19 consecutive days now, shattering a 50-year-old record. Meanwhile, across the U.S., 63 million people are living under heat threats from Southern California to Miami, according to NBC News. And once again, over 110 degrees on the thermometer for 19 days straight. Just hard to even take that in, huh? I think we told you the other day that the SAG and AFTRA union, representing all kinds of A-list stars to struggling actors, 160,000 members strong. They are striking in Hollywood now, so there's no talk of any relief from that, and you can see that on the television because the writing has shut down. So you're seeing news program and stuff, and then you're seeing reruns of other programming that required writers, all the late night comedy shows, the daytime shows like Tamron Hall and what's her name, the one that does the Wayfair commercials. Those type of daytime shows are all in reruns right now because there's nobody there to do the writings for the show. On the global front, it looks like we got a little something going on with China. It looked like we're trying to improve relations with China. And I'll just share with you what we've been sharing with you all along, really, but kind of a recap. About 3 weeks ago, Secretary of State Antony Blinken made a state-to-state visit to China. That was quickly followed up by the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, traveling to China. John Kerry is over there former presidential candidate, long-term senator from Massachusetts, John Kerry, is over there as a special climate envoy. And yesterday, who shows up? Henry Kissinger, who just turned 100 years old. He claims to be there as a private citizen, but yet he met with their defense minister. So, boy, that's a lot of high-profile people, high-profile positions deciding to visit China in the last 3 weeks. Some going on, some kind of efforts going on here, and we'll just hope it pays dividends. Another story, just a really troubling story. 23-year-old private second class. This is United States Army private second class Travis King is in North Korean custody after crossing the heavily fortified border willfully and without authorization, according to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, what he told reporters yesterday. King, who had recently been released from a South Korean prison, some type of assault charges or what have you, had been escorted by the military to the Incheon International Airport outside Seoul and was headed back to Fort Bliss, Texas, for possible further disciplinary action inside the United States. But instead of proceeding to his gate at the airport, a senior administration official told NBC News that he joined a commercial tour group headed for the Joint Security Area. The Truce Village, also known as Panmunjom, is about an hour and a half from the airport and is the only place along the approximately 155-mile DMZ, or demilitarized zone, where North Korea and South Korea interact. So it looked like the military brought him to the airport, but they didn't stick with him until he got on the plane, and he decided to dip out and thought he'd roll the dice by some reports say he, ran at a fast pace across the border into North Korea, and what a decision to make. I got a sneaking suspicion, just my hunch, that whatever discipline he was going to have in the United States is probably better than the conditions that he's facing now, from everything that we've heard over the years. So, private second class Travis King in North Korean custody. Honduras's progressive female woman president once promised to address gang violence through systemic reforms to governance and the criminal justice system. Now, President Xiomara Castro plans to build an isolated prison on an island. Isolated prison for 2,000 gang members on the Isle del Cine archipelago, 155 miles off the coast of Honduras, part of a larger crackdown on a gang-related massacre where 46 women were killed in one prison by gangs, and I think there's movies been out about having prisons on islands. So anyway, no word as to when it'll be constructed, how long it's going to take or whatever, but the story kind of jumped out at me a little bit. Wanted to share that with you. And lastly, for the first time since the 1980s, a nuclear-armed ballistic missile submarine visited South Korea on yesterday as allies began talks to coordinate their responses in the event of a nuclear war with North Korea. The USS, by one report, it indicated that the submarine was the USS Kentucky, an SSBN, and SSBNs carry a large swath of ballistic nuclear-capable missiles. They rely on stealth, of course, to ensure their survival and preserve their ability to launch nuclear missiles during war. They rarely make public stops in foreign ports. So, I don't know if you remember from the other day, news story that North Korea is continuing to test these long-range missiles, and so obviously this is a deterrent to that type of thing by bringing a nuclear submarine loaded with nuclear missiles right up close over there to a port in South Korea. Maybe get North Korea's attention a little bit with that. So hopefully that remains a safe visit and everything goes okay, and they find ways to work closer together, and who knows, maybe one day hopefully finding a way to work with North Korea to avert some type of disaster down the road. So that's all we have for you today from Newsbreak. Thank you so much for joining in. We're always happy to have you here at We Believe Digital Studios. If there's anything we can help you with, your advertising for your businesses, maybe you'd like to do a podcast yourself, we've got a dynamic young producer here that's willing to work with you on that. We also have partnerships in other areas if need be to bring in even more resources. We want to be your go-to platform at We Believe Digital, and please call on us anytime we can be helpful to you, or just to come over and take a look at what we got going on here. The telephone number is 1-800-492-5186. Have a great day. Stay as cool as you can, and protect your health as best you can. And we'll see you back on Friday at 12 noon.